Hello, parents and teachers who may be watching. Welcome to Creating Math Ahas for Parents. I'm Dr. Sandy Atkins, Sandy. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on one of the strands of the 5 strands of math proficiency. That is procedural fluency. Now, there's a separate video on those 5 strands, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you can see that video if you'd like. But remember, 5 strands, they're interrelated, interconnected. And if your child is really great at one of the strands, it doesn't necessarily mean they're mathematically proficient. We need to make sure they are proficient in all of them. And as I said, they're interconnected, interrelated. When it comes to procedural fluency, I'd like you to notice 2 really key words. One is flexibly, and the other is efficiently. Now, of course, there's accuracy, and we want to make sure that your child understands a variety and uses a variety of strategies, but can decide which strategy is most appropriate for the situation, for the problems involved. So keep in mind flexibly and efficiently. So let's look at a problem just to illustrate some of this. If you want to pause the video even and try coming up with as many different ways as you could solve the problem 83 minus 38. When you come back, we'll look at some together. So hopefully you've done that back. Some of you may have written the problem vertically, gone straight to paper and pencil. That's what we're used to. And you might have used a regrouping strategy. Thought of another way to make 83 instead of 8 tens and 3 ones is 7 tens and 13 ones. And those equivalent ways to make numbers, that would be another video. Again, I'll try to leave playlist links in the description below if you want more information on that. When you did that, you can take 8 ones from 13 ones, get the 5 ones, 3 tens from 7 tens, and get 4 tens, and we have 45. Now, you may not have thought of all of that as you did it because it's so natural for us to just solve it. But one of those strands of the 5 strands is conceptual understanding. And so you may hear teachers using a little bit different language when they work with your children on this to help build that conceptual piece, not just that rule, that procedural. Okay? Now, another way to think of it. Some children, and this is a great mental strategy, I can remove 40 and add 2 back. Paper and pencil is not required. This is a round and adjust strategy. Right? So I remove 40, I get 43, I give 2 back, I adjust back, I add 2 to 43, I get 45. Another one you may see is you may see the children think of 38 as 30 and 8. Use the place value idea. They remove 30, so they've got 53. They remove the 3 ones, they've got 50, and then they remove 5 more and end up with 45. So again, they think of 38 as 30 and 8, expanded form of number. They think of 8 as 3 and 5. Now, they may know other facts for 8, but that's the one we need for this problem. So they break numbers apart in a very usable way so they can do these mentally. Okay? Now, another way, you may see children using base 10 blocks. And in the base 10 blocks, you can see that I've shown 83. And one way to remove 38 that your children may learn is they remove the 30, just like the previous problem. They think of it as 30 and 8, but they decompose 10. They cut that 10 apart into 8 and 2. And you may see first graders really working on ways to break up 10. That's because it's really important for these types of problems, these regrouping types of problems. When they break into 8 and 2, they remove the 8. And if you notice the cubes that are left, we have 45 again. See, it's really important for your children to understand that no matter the strategy, they're still going to get 45. And some of your children may quickly just know the answer is 45, but they have one strategy to use. So again, keep in mind flexibility. It's fantastic they have a single strategy that gets them an answer, but it's the flexibility that shows proficiency. Now, another way to think of this is how many more than 38 is 83. We're using an open number line. Okay? And again, there are videos available to talk about open number lines as if this is something new to you. But if I'm looking at how many more than 38 is 83, I could make a jump to 40 of 2, and then I could jump by tens until I get up to 80 and then do that jump of 3. So my missing value, and as you could see, I have 83. How many more than 38? I represent it as a blank. I represent it as an unknown, A. Well, what do I put in? I put in those jump blanks, and that gives me the 45 again, okay? Now, let's start another way. See, there are flexible ways to do these jumps. Some of your children may do a jump of 2 and then the jump of 40. They may do it in fewer jumps. Okay. Or they may do a jump of 40 up front, then do a jump of 2 and a jump of 3. Sometimes we see children that do a single jump of 45, which means they probably found the answer and just did a single jump. That usually is a sign of inflexibility, not flexibility, right? But it's not wrong. It's fine. It's just, is that their only strategy, or can they find other ways to make jumps that are efficient? Now, some children do want to do jumps of 1, and we want to get them more efficient at that, doing it in fewer jumps. So the first one I showed with jumps of 10, very helpful, right? Some children, they they do that single jump, as I said. Some are pretty flexible in what they do. But what I want us to think about is if your child is really quite talented in math, loves math, is good, and needs that challenge, we want to think of enrichment as something we do through getting them to think algebraically. Now, I want to look at the same problem, the how many more than 38 is 83. See, it could be that those jumps aren't very challenging in that. And we quite often think, oh, we need to go to larger numbers to make it more difficult. But for some of your children, the larger numbers don't make it more difficult. But what if I ask them to show this in exactly 6 jumps, 3 must be the same? Or exactly 6 jumps, 1 must be 18. You see, just by changing the parameters they have to use, that makes it more challenging. So as we're thinking about ways to challenge your child, we want to think about larger numbers aren't necessarily going to be harder, especially if your child is really good about learning the rules for certain procedures and memorizing those. They just learn rules well. That's how I was. So we want to figure out a way to get them more into the algebraic thinking side of things. Smaller numbers won't necessarily be easier. Even that 83 minus 38. Once I say exactly 6 jumps, 3 must be the same, or 1 must be 18, you see, that makes it more challenging. So we want to use algebraic thinking. Flexibility, I've highlighted in this video because it is really an important characteristic of fluency. Some of your children will be fluent with a single technique for answer getting, but it's this fluency, this flexibility that will help them as they move into algebra. It will help them as they are asked to do problem solving, and problem solving for non-routine problems, not just routine ones. It's the thinking outside that box which will help them become more and more proficient mathematically. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, share with others who might find it helpful. Again, consider clicking on the notifications bell so you know when other videos become available. And also subscribe to the channel. It's free. It helps the channel out a great deal. Thanks so much for watching.